I'm Parker Asman, an inside crime investigator based in Mexico. We recently published a new investigation, When Corruption Kills, Extractives and Environmental Destruction in Western Honduras. The report highlights the corrupt elite networks operating in the extractives industry in this region and describes how these forces accelerate environmental destruction and violence against land defenders. Specifically, we analyzed two cases in which corrupt criminal blocs, led by local politicians, backed extractive projects that negatively impacted the environment and placed land activists at risk. This is one of those stories, Pay to Play, how one city's growth fuels corruption and environmental destruction in Western Honduras. Read by me, Parker Asman. Just before midnight on September 15th, 2023, four masked men dressed in all black walked down an alley just north of the main plaza in Santa Rosa de Copán, one of the largest municipalities in Western Honduras. From the darkness, one of them stepped into the light of a nearby street lamp. He then stopped in front of the home of the environmental activist Ramiro Lara, pulled out a handgun, and fired 22 shots at the house. Lara and his family were sleeping inside, and one of the rounds pierced an upstairs window, which had a Honduran flag draped to one side. More than a dozen other bullets pockmarked the white frame and brown painted wall just below it. When the police arrived early the next morning, they found a pile of spent shell casings scattered in front of the home. In the months before the attack, Lara had dedicated his time to denouncing a sharp rise in deforestation in and around the municipality, particularly in an area known as El Carrizal. Community members there had asked him to help file a complaint against a landowner who was cutting down trees near a microbasin called La Hondura, which provides around 25% of the city with water, according to local activists. It was a pattern connected to a sharp rise in the number of people living in the area, which began shortly after the election of Santa Rosa de Copán's mayor, Aníbal Orazo Alvarado. Since Alvarado took office in 2010, the population of Santa Rosa de Copán has swelled from just under 40,000 residents to more than 70,000. This rapid growth pushed municipal authorities to expand the city's territorial limits, which Lara and other activists said has damaged the environment and threatened several water sources like Hondura. This problem of losing forested areas in Santa Rosa de Copán and the surrounding area has a long history in this local government, and in this case, we're talking about the mayor, said a member of Honduras' Forest Conservation Institute, who requested anonymity for security reasons. In fact, dozens of sources consulted by Inside Crime accused Mayor Alvarado of spearheading a sprawling corruption network filled with powerful actors who have profited from the city's expansion at the expense of its natural resources. They alleged that the mayor and other municipal employees exchanged licenses and construction permits for bribes, pieces of land, and other economic benefits. Alvarado has denied these accusations, but the attack on Lara highlighted the dangers facing those who oppose this development. Although he and his family were unharmed, the message was clear. Honduras is one of the most dangerous places in the world to be an environmental defender. The country saw the highest number of killings per capita in 2023, according to Global Witness, and at least a dozen land defenders were killed in 2024. Local community groups and the United Nations office in Honduras condemned the attack, and the Association of Non-Governmental Organizations of Honduras, where Lara worked, said in a press release that the attack on him was designed to silence his efforts to expose the abuses and bad practices of certain powerful actors in the area. He had made them uncomfortable, the association stated. Humble beginnings. When you ask residents of Santa Rosa de Copán about the Alvarado family, many recall fond memories of eating the legendary roasted pork that its proud matriarch, Maria Olympia Alvarado, cooked in artisanal clay ovens for more than 6 decades. Doña Olympia, as she was affectionately known, came from humble beginnings, and in an interview with Inside Crime almost a year after the attack on Lara, the mayor said she instilled a strong moral compass and work ethic in him as a child. His office is adorned with her images. As he spoke, Behind him sat a framed photo of his mother in front of one of her famous ovens. Hanging above that was a large painting of his mother's hands gripping the cooked feet of a pig she had lowered into the oven. His father was similarly centered, the mayor said. Alvarado recalled one day when he passed through a nearby farm on his way home and saw a banana tree hanging over a fence. With his machete, he cut some of the fruit, but when he got home, his father scolded him, he said, and forced him to give the bananas back to the owner. "I'm not going to raise you like that," Alvarado remembered his father saying. From that point on, Alvarado understood the values his parents wanted to instill in him. But life wasn't easy. Alvarado was one of 10 kids, and after his father died when he was just 9 years old, he began working at a young age to support his family. He later took night classes at a public medical school while he worked in construction, loading tractor trailers during the day. It wasn't much, he said, but it was hard work, and he earned enough to help support his mother and pay his way through school. During one of his seminars, he remembered the professor asking each student to think about what they wanted to do for a living after graduating. Alvarado had a lot of experience in construction and medicine, but he envisioned something different: politics, specifically local politics. "I told myself I'm going to be a force," he said in his office. "Where my family and I come from, we've been fighters all our lives." After finishing school, Alvarado got a job as the head of social development in the administration of the then mayor, Juan Carlos Elvir, and 4 years later, in 2006, he became a municipal councilman. While in office, Alvarado said he made a habit of interacting closely with the community, especially in the Santa Teresa neighborhood where he was raised. He'd walk the streets and knock on doors, listen to complaints, and try to develop proposals that would help his constituents, he said. In 2009, he ran for mayor. His mom was on the ballot as much as he was. When the election came, he said many residents told him they were voting for Doña Limpia's son. "I became mayor thanks to my mother," he said. A community seeks support. It was August 2023 when some people from El Carrizal first approached the Association of Non-Governmental Organizations of Honduras, which is known as ESONOC and is where Lara worked. They had discovered an area of land stretching about 5 hectares that had been raised and wanted the civil society group to alert the authorities. Since Alvarado took office, locals told Inside Crime that it was increasingly common to see contractors and developers cutting down trees in Santa Rosa de Copán. But what worried residents of El Carrizal was that this loss of tree cover threatened 4 water sources, including the Honduran microbasin and 2 others that the community relied on directly. Honduran authorities formally declared Honduras a protected area in 1988. This meant that the municipality was responsible for safeguarding the microbasin and the natural resources that surround it. In practice, this included working with other agencies to develop a management plan and reforestation campaign, as well as surveillance activities to prevent illegal deforestation and logging. Santa Rosa de Copán has 2 main water sources, the Higuito River and the Honduran microbasin, which is fed by several underground wells. And as the city's urban sprawl grows larger, there are fewer green spaces with forest cover. This has caused more soil erosion and less rainwater to enter the subsoil and replenish the wells, creating a water crisis. After the meeting, ESONOC agreed to form a team to help the residents, which Lara became a part of. In an interview with Inside Crime, Lara said this work entailed advising them on how to present the complaint, organizing the environmental committee, and investigating who lived in the area where the deforestation was taking place. During their investigation, Lara and his team focused on 2 brothers, Dennis and Hernan Sierra. Both of them worked in different capacities for a real estate company in Santa Rosa de Copán. Hernan was identified as the landowner of the area, but Dennis did not appear in any paperwork. In addition to being an important source of water, Honduras is a popular tourist attraction, and Lara said they thought the brothers planned to build several cabins in the mountains surrounding it. It was around this time when Lara was reminded of how dangerous this work can be. One night, he said he received a phone call from Byron Rene Hernandez. He served as the municipal judge of Santa Rosa de Copán, which meant he oversaw the local justice system in all court cases, although that did not save him later from his own transgressions. He was also Mayor Alvarado's right-hand man and a key intermediary within the alleged corruption network, according to several council members interviewed by Inside Crime. The call was strange, according to Lara. Hernandez told him he was getting involved in something he had no business getting in the middle of. Lara took that as a threat. I felt like he was being defensive and trying to intimidate me, he told Inside Crime. Still, Esonoc and Lara pushed ahead, and on August 10, 2023, a representative of El Carrizal's community board filed an official complaint with the Attorney General's office. Days later, a team of technicians from the Special Prosecutor's Office Against Environmental Crime, the Forest Conservation Institute, and the municipality's environmental unit visited the area and found 3 hectares of trees had been cleared. The inspectors also encountered Hernan Sierra, one of the 2 brothers under suspicion. They informed him of the complaint and asked if he had the proper permits to be cutting down trees. He told them he didn't, whereupon the officials ordered him to stop working. The following week, authorities received another complaint about a group of people cutting down trees in the same area. They returned, this time with the police, where they again found Sierra. The police read him his rights, took him into custody, and charged him for illegal exploitation of natural resources. Sierra denied the charges and was later released to await trial. About a week later, gunmen rained bullets on Lara's house. It was retaliation, he told Inside Crime months after the attack. Unfortunately, people linked to the municipality and so-called investors associated with them are involved. A few weeks later, Lara and his family fled the region. A green municipality. It was a crisp, partly cloudy morning when the municipal corporation in Santa Rosa de Copán held its final town hall of 2023. A lawyer representing an investment company called Inversiones La Roca was in attendance to present Mayor Alvarado and the 10 council members with a housing development project. The site of the project was located on the northeast reaches of the city, just off the only highway heading into the neighboring department of Lempira. The area was known as the Sabana sector of Villa Belén, and the municipality had determined it to be of interés forestal. Among other things, this designation, which roughly translates to conservation area, was designed to protect the existing forest and prevent unauthorized urban expansion. As such, the company needed approval from the local Urban Infrastructure Commission before it could obtain the necessary licenses and permits to move forward with construction. The municipal council members are responsible for liaison with this body. Their oversight also included visiting the site before making a determination about the feasibility of the proposal. But these and other oversight mechanisms are often co-opted and have failed to prevent deforestation. Since Alvarado became mayor in 2010, for instance, the city's rapid expansion has halved the size of protected forests like the one surrounding Villa Belén. Local activists, residents, and several council members told Inside Crime. Projects like these are what Lara and other environmental activists say are putting at risk the city's water supply. The city has a big water problem, a human rights official, who asked to remain anonymous for security reasons, told Inside Crime. Here we receive water every 12 to 14 days, so twice a month, but sometimes it suddenly doesn't arrive, or it arrives once a month, and that is not sufficient. The issue came up in the Inversiones La Roca case, and as part of their proposal, Inversiones La Roca and the municipal board negotiated a number of concessions to help safeguard the environment and ensure access to water and other basic services in the area. The company owned about 21 hectares of land and wanted to develop a little more than half. They also proposed installing a reservoir and defining a reforestation plan to lessen the environmental impact of the project. The local Citizens Commission on the Environment, known as COCOM, a civil society group that analyzes projects that involve a land use change, also supported the proposal, provided that the agreed-upon conditions were met. For council members who were resisting, this was not surprising. They said that rather than turning back proposals, Copán often collaborates with the municipality to find ways to approve development projects, even if other civil society groups argue they may harm the environment. The result, these critics say, is that Copán lacks the autonomy needed to be an effective watchdog. By the end of the session that morning, Mayor Alvarado and the 10 municipal council members voted 7-4 in favor of the development. Although the company agreed to certain environmental safeguards, grassroots organizations like ESONOC pushed back when news broke of the approval. Any development that would destroy more green space, they argued, would jeopardize future generations. ESONOC added that approving the land use change in Villa Belén was not the type of sustainable development Alvarado had promised when he publicly declared Santa Rosa de Copán a green municipality just 2 weeks earlier. Instead, they said the project paved the way for the destruction of an important part of the city's already deteriorating green space. This approval mocks the wishes and demands of the community to protect our environment, ESONOC said in a statement. Many also suspected something else might be going on behind the scenes. Local authorities had received several complaints in recent years about the arbitrary way in which permits and licenses were issued for urban development, according to the human rights official, who has reviewed many of the accusations. The mayor was unperturbed. He said the new initiative would prioritize the conservation of the environment, sustainable development, and implementation of concrete actions to improve the quality of life of residents. A land defender forced to flee. As Hernan Sierra's case moved through the court system, Lara and his family relocated more than 300 kilometers away to Tegucigalpa, Honduras' capital city. From there, Lara continued his work with ESONOC and monitored different threats to environmental defenders in the western part of the country and elsewhere. He also followed the case in El Carrizal. Investigators had compiled substantial evidence against Sierra, according to a copy of the case file obtained by Insight Crime. The Forest Conservation Institute produced a technical report that said the deforested land was just 400 to 500 meters from the Honduran microbasin. In other words, it was part of the protected area surrounding the site. Technicians with the environmental unit of the regional prosecutor's office also examined the land and determined Sierra did not have the proper permits to cut down trees in the area. Doing so risked further soil erosion and directly threatened the water provided by the microbasin. Prosecutors also collected testimonies from neighbors who told them when the trees were cut down and by whom. They had photos taken at the scene that showed dozens of discarded tree trunks, as well as a dirt road cutting through a large area almost entirely cleared of trees. Sierra figured in all of it and would soon get punished for it as well. Meanwhile, the United Nations International Organization for Migration and High Commissioner for Human Rights took on Lara's case. They began collecting the relevant information related to the attack that was needed to present his case for asylum to authorities in the United States. But the process was slow. It was difficult for him. He was worried about his family, and he was still working cases in Santa Rosa de Copán, where civil society groups like ESONOC had shifted their focus to another case that was growing more controversial, the housing project in Villa Belén. Pay to play. During the first town hall meeting of 2024, the municipal council reversed its decision on the housing development in Villa Belén. Mayor Alvarado, the council said, had a conflict of interest. Specifically, according to documents obtained by Insight Crime, on June 8, 2022, the president of Inversiones La Roca sold a piece of land in Villa Belén to Josué Aníbal Erazo Otero, one of Mayor Alvarado's sons. On the surface, there was nothing out of the ordinary about the agreement, according to the lawyer who facilitated the sale. But a handwritten note, signed and fingerprinted by the mayor's son in the months after, stated that his land deal was part of a quid pro quo for approval of the Inversiones La Roca project. On September 8, 2022, in the city of Santa Rosa de Copán, I received a deed of sale for a piece of property in exchange for a land use change of 50 manzanas for Inversiones La Roca. Read the document obtained by Insight Crime, which also contained the seal of the Municipal Property Institute. The document further supported the mayor's own admission of a conflict of interest during the town hall. His son's acquisition of land in Villa Belén would create a potential financial incentive for him to vote in favor of the project. This is a tremendous act of corruption, the lawyer told Insight Crime. Neither the president of Inversiones La Roca nor the lawyer representing the company for the housing development in Villa Belén nor the mayor's son responded to Insight Crime's request for comment. Mayor Alvarado also did not respond to a detailed list of questions sent to him and his office. Meanwhile, other members of his administration were also coming under scrutiny. Later that year, in November 2024, police in Santa Rosa de Copán arrested Hernandez, the municipal judge and mayor's right-hand man, as he received what authorities called a cash bribe of 100,000 lempiras, which is almost $4,000. Working alongside a local lawyer, prosecutors said Hernandez demanded payments from certain business owners in exchange for expediting the approval of operating permits. The lawyer allegedly found clients for Hernandez and then delivered the illicit payments. Alvarado quickly removed Hernandez from office. He had served as municipal judge since 2018, but he denied the charges and was later released from jail while awaiting trial. Pyrrhic victories. In October 2024, Lara and his family received the news that U.S. authorities had accepted his asylum case, and they were being transferred to Costa Rica. On one hand, he was relieved that his family would be safe, but on the other hand, the thought of abandoning his country gutted him. It's hard to accept that it has come to this extreme, that for doing something in the public interest, there are people who are willing to take your life, Lara lamented as he looked back on the attack that displaced him and his family. It's a shame, but that's the reality of people who defend human rights and the environment in Honduras, he told Insight Crime. There was some silver lining. Sierra was ultimately convicted of environmental crimes, and a judge sentenced him to 2 years in prison and ordered him to pay a fine of 10,000 lempiras, which is less than $400. His defense team filed several appeals in the El Carrizal case, but the sentence was ultimately upheld. It was a rare victory for land defenders. Still, no one has been held accountable for the attack on Lara, and threats to the environment still loom large in Santa Rosa de Copán. What's more, Mayor Alvarado remains in power. During the March 2025 primary election, he received 6,828 votes, or almost 85% of the votes, and he will be the Liberal Party's candidate when he runs for mayor for the 5th time in November of 2025. And while the municipal council ultimately voted down the development project in Villa Belén in January 2024, when Insight Crime visited the area a few months later, dozens of trees had been cut down at the job site, and building materials were scattered all around. It appeared as if work had continued in some capacity, despite the ruling. In Honduras, several activists told Insight Crime that the corruption networks plundering the environment too often have the legal, economic, and political backing to do so openly. We're defenseless, Lara told Insight Crime from an undisclosed location in the United States. That was Pay to Play: How One City's Growth Fuels Corruption and Environmental Destruction in Western Honduras. Published on Wednesday, July 23rd, and written and narrated by me, Insight Crime investigator Parker Asman. For more audio stories, podcasts, and long-form narrative journalism, be sure to follow us on Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, and YouTube. And for more on environmental crime and cases of corruption among political elites throughout Latin America and the Caribbean, visit insightcrime.org.